Lina Akif, Lena Koncutar, Severin Lorencic, Domen Valpotic and Blendor Sefai will talk about theater school and first gymnasium Maribor.
Hello. I have a historical overview of our theater group, Prva gimnazija Maribor. So I have some facts. Okay, the whole thing started in 1997, and the founder was Mojca Redko, and the first mentor was director Jernaj Lorenci. The current head of the theater is Tjaša Klanšek-Bohinec, and she is sitting right there. Yeah. Then what is our main goal? Or we can maybe, okay, yeah. Our main goal is to educate students interested in this form of art, so in theater, about theater. And the emphasis is on the artistic process itself, rather than the final result, which is a production or a performance each year. So we have 5 performances each year, one by each year of students. It is an extracurricular activity, so students are doing this after school, and of course they are volunteering or yeah. And it is under the leadership of professional mentors. So a wide spectrum of stage expressions, from puppet theater to alternative theater, is covered each year. And throughout the period of 4 years, students approach theater in innovative ways in contrast to classical methods. So basically each year of high school, students from each year form their own group and are doing something special, are switching from mentor to mentor in each year of their high school in order to, I don't know, get familiar with different techniques, different forms of theater. Yeah. Then, yeah, students get to know all the segments of theater: scenography, light and sound designs, basic directing principles, and dramaturgy. And it is free of charge, of course, for students and entirely managed by them. Mentors are here only to kind of lead the whole process, to educate. And it is, therefore, it is independent. The work of mentors is entirely voluntary. So this will basically also means that they are there because they want to be there. So it is kind of, I don't know, reassuring, I guess, because they obviously are try to achieve some, I don't know, level of greatness, I guess, or whatever. Okay. Okay, so in previous season, we actually had 3 parts because 4th year and 3rd year were combined because we didn't have many students, but this does not actually happen often. So part 1, first year students, of the curriculum is about the exploration of different possibilities and approaches to theater, learning about the responsibility towards colleagues. Each student is also directing a part of the final performance. So each one of us did this in our first year of the school. Then part 2 is based on acquiring new skills, in this case the work with puppets. So the second year, which we'll tell something more about later, was last year working with puppets. The process is therefore something completely different. An important aspect of it are the basics of puppet animation. The goal is to get familiar with puppet techniques. The creative process is mainly in the hands of students, while the mentor is there to lead them into the best direction. And then the third part, well combined, students of third and fourth year who, with the knowledge they gained in the past years, worked on Moliere's playwright. And Lina will tell more about this, I guess. Yeah? No? Severin? See her? Yeah, Severin. Okay, so I have a few photos. This was Dorian Gray, which was a good performance. So I hear, because I wasn't there yet. It was directed by Branko Jordan, right? Okay. Okay, so this was our performance last year. Murder in a Recollection, ali v spominu umor. And the director, mentor, was Tin Grabnar, who is in the, I guess, third, maybe, year of academy, now. And I have a few photos, but maybe later I'll just read what I wrote before about that. So, students were designing the whole thing themselves under the leadership of their mentor, so Tin Grabnar. First few weeks, Tin showed us different techniques or approaches to that kind of alternative, modern, puppet-like theater. Next step was to come up with a story that would be later presented with different puppet techniques learned earlier. So Tin suggested the main theme, which was murder, and we were trying to come up with something that would, a story that we could present with puppets, but that would, we were thinking about what would be the best story, maybe to, I don't know, deliver a message of some kind. And, well, we guessed the reasons would differ depending on the gender or age of the murderer. So the plan, therefore, was to combine 4 stories of a murder committed by a woman in 4 different stages of her life. As a toddler, teenager, mother-to-be, and as an elderly woman. So this scene is from the beginning. There was this toddler girl who killed her parents. Yeah. And well, also, the stages of life reflect also in the puppets used for each scene. The puppets were big, colorful, stuff-like animals, changing into... Okay, so this is, the first scene. And then changing to a comic book-like style in the teenage years. And because, well, life is perceived like this, I guess, in teenage years. That was the idea of it. And then when our murderer was pregnant, the puppets were more feminine. So this is the scene from that part of the performance. And this was making the scene rather heartbreaking, I guess. It was really heartbreaking scene. Then this is the final scene where this grandma killed her grandson because he was, well, in a vegetative state because he was involved in a car accident. And so I guess it reflects also why somebody at certain in certain part of his life, stage of his life, whatever, would kill. So in the final stage where we had this grandma, it I guess reflects family values because you wouldn't kill somebody for your own, I don't know, benefit, but because you try to make life easier for the loved ones, who they mean a lot to you, I guess. Then, okay, what was written about this play? I'll just read it in our, leaflet. In the play, a group of detectives captures a murderer and sets out on a journey through his memories. They browse through the collections of the test case, which could be the key to the understanding of human psyche. Whatever. They constantly move along the line between the reality and fantasy, where an exclusive abbey of the adventurers opens time and again. Each recollection attempts to uncover the person. Okay, so this is all from Okay, this is this performance I was talking about.
So, hello everyone, my name is Domen and I am also a member of the theater group Prvi. Our group consists of 7 young actors that are all in the 3rd year of high school, so we are all approximately 18 years old. There are 6 girls and me as the only male member. In this year we were faced with a rather unknown drama named Splendids, which was written by a French novelist and political activist Jean Genet. Although the drama was written in 1948, the drama was written in 1948, it was not published until during Genet's lifetime, for he claimed that he destroyed it. However, a surviving copy showed up in 1993 and was soon after that put on the stage for the very first time. Splendids. It's a criminal thriller in 2 acts, which is based on a group of 7 gangsters and a policeman who are trapped in a hotel with no chance to escape because the hotel is surrounded by the police. The gangsters kidnapped a young American girl to be their hostage, but unfortunately one of them accidentally killed her, and now they have nothing left to negotiate with. Luckily, the police is at first unaware of the fact that the girl is already dead, so the gangsters come up with an amazing plan. They dress their boss as the woman and present him as their hostage on the balcony, and then, by fooling the police, they earn themselves another 2 hours to live. But of course, everything does not go according for plan, for there are disagreements and fight inside the gang. All this leads to the final deed, killing their boss, posing as the hostage in front of the police. Doing so, they basically dig their own grave. After that, they just have a few minutes left before the police breaks into the hotel and end all this charade. So the drama focuses on the interpersonal relationships of the gang members and their attitude towards the policeman who tries to integrate in their gang. Through the first act, we can also follow the collapse of leadership in the gang when the boss is deposed and replaced. What is important part of the drama is also the voice of the radio, which represents their connection with the outer world. By listening to the radio presenter, we hear how people outside the hotel hold stereotypes and distorted image of the gangsters. People judge them, but through the drama, we see how very fragile and emotional these gangsters really are. So you can see they really are emotional. In fact, one of the gang members commits suicide because he cannot stand the pressure and the hopelessness of the position. What was the interesting part of putting this work on the stage was the distribution of roles. The drama is written for 8 male roles, but in our group there are 6 girls and 1 boy. So what we did was first we joined 2 gangsters into one, and that we got 7 gangsters. And now the boss of the gang, Johnny, who is then dressed into a woman, was played by the only boy, so me, and the other 6 gangsters were played by my co-actors, which are all girls. By this, we created a special contrast and also removed some kind of a stereotype that gangsters are only men. But what we believe was special in our interpretation of the drama were the musical inserts performed by the actors. So each of us learned to play, okay, so this is the radio. Each of us learned to play one instrument, and at the end we got the whole musical band. So we play 3 different songs, but what was more important than our musical talent was our interpretation of the songs. So by musical inserts, we gave our gangsters some tool to express themselves, to express their emotions, their feelings. So let me just finish. Okay, so here we can see our band, a drummer, a singer, guitar, bass. Let me finish with one of the quotes from from Splendids. So, in your greatest misery, what would you try to become, or what would you try to hide behind? Thank you.
We did a play called Kids, which was based upon the film of Harmony Korine, Kids from 1995. Next slide, please. First of all, the funniest thing was when our mentor, Andrea Kovac, sat us down and said, okay, we're going to do a play called Kids, so I would like all of you to watch the movie. And so we went home, watched the movie, and what do you think our initial reaction was? A bunch of 16-year-olds watching Kids for the first time. We were shocked, we were terrified, because there were a lot of scenes of naked teenagers, drug abuse, violence, and we were just sitting there and wondering, how are we going to pull this off? Next slide. After a lot of discussion and a lot of thinking how to perform this play, how to show all these scenes in a in a friendly way, you know, so if my mother comes to watch me play, doesn't thinks that I'm really having sex on the stage or doing drugs. We went through this learning process where all of the actors got an assignment. So we studied a lot of different acting techniques, had little so-called seminars where we presented these techniques to our co-actors, and we did a lot of things. We did Stanislavski, Chekhov, Spolin, Honda, Suzuki, Yamaha, all these Japanese things, acting techniques, Buto, you name it, we did it. But we did it in a funny way. We didn't perceive this as some strict learning process, but through games, through having fun, we tried to pull out the best that we can from these techniques. Next slide. Our involvement in the play was really big because we didn't have any text. We took the movie script, we translated it ourselves. We have written some parts of it, and we adapted it to our current situation because the text primarily happens in the New York in the 90s. New York in the 90s have a bit of, no, the whole AIDS epidemic, yeah, crack New York, so on and so forth. So we took this text and we adapted it to our current situation, how we perceive it, and we tried to build our entire play around this text and our own perception of what the teenager life is right now. So the work process was that through games and mostly improvisation, we combined a lot of scenes. We put up like a collage of everything that we learned. So after all this discussion, after all these learned techniques, I mean the basis of the techniques, we glued improvised scenes together and formed the play. Our impressions. First of all, I personally think that this play was a huge success. A lot of my friends who normally don't show up at theater because they're too busy playing basketball or getting drunk or having fun in different ways actually came for the first time voluntarily to the theater, and after the play they said to me, "Wow, Blinder, what was that? I never thought that theater can be so much fun, especially when done by young people. And I always perceive theater as something serious, you know, with the big costumes and some deep feelings, emotions. But we took everything that was complex in the movie and showed it in a light way, but yet understandable. So, I don't know. I guess that we nailed it." Okay, thank you.
So my name is Severin. I'm going to be short because we're running out of time. So I was in the season 2011 and 2012. So I worked on the show Maribor, which was a performance show. We used different techniques, but the main weapon was performance. So each actor had his own performance. Deva Rebaniak had party going, and her motto was, "We party because we celebrate life." And she started off by being sad and how she would be a normal person if she just went to school and then home and did nothing. And so partying is a celebration of life. That was her point. Okay, next slide, please. Then Nina Tsigale had the motto, we know of a different kind of love, friendship. She told how everybody is connected and how we have to work together. Well, such optimistic thoughts. And she also painted a picture of her best friend, as you see there's a canvas. Next slide, please. Okay, Lina had the subject of family. Her motto was, "Without family, I simply wouldn't exist." And so she talked about family. She made up a story. Oh, everyone, each of us made their performance in a way that they talked in a metaphysical way of sorts at first about a subject, but then they went into a personal level and talked about what family means for them and had AIDS and so on. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, so that was me. I had politics, and my motto was, "My life is beautiful, although I am facing horrible social and political circumstances." Okay, so I came on stage. I wrote a bunch of questions, what I wanted to ask the people that live in Maribor and so on. And so I glued a bunch of things to my body, and then I pulled it off. Next slide, please. And I was kind of naked. Almost. Well, I had underpants on because you have to censor yourself once you're in a school play. That's why I have written on my shorts, "I hate censorship." Okay. So that's the point. It was, so Roman had, I almost forgot, he had art, and art is something into which the artist puts his soul into. And he talked about art and what means, like, how it can be artful in every aspect of life and how everybody is an artist. Yeah, so next slide. Oh, okay, so that's that. So it was a performance play. Molière, Psyche, that was the last season. Okay, it's a lesser known Molière play that was presented. We played it like a classical play, but with modern touch that because the theme is eternal, there are relationships between lovers, between mother and son, between two friends that want the same girl, and we modernized it by each actor wrote his own monologue, and then he performed the monologue that commented on the play and the things that are going on. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, that's next slide. Those were sisters. That's us still being the lovers and the object of our love. That's a monologue. Oh, he modernized it by introducing rap into his monologue, so he rapped through it. Next slide. She also sang. She sang "Love Is in the Air." She talked how she hates her sister. And I think that's it. Is there anything else? Okay.
Okay, hi. Oh, yeah. Okay, I've put together a collage here. Well, I should point out that Prvi Oder is a school, and therefore they're really trying to give us the whole experience of theater. So we do study different acting techniques, or are rather introduced to different acting techniques, and then of course we build a character and create a play, and then we perform those plays, and in the end we do go to festivals if we're lucky enough. And here is the first festival. It's called Mondial du Théâtre, and it's in Monaco, in Monte Carlo. It occurs, or it takes place every 4 years, and it's one of the most prestigious amateur festivals in the world, I would say. So attending a festival is an incredibly rewarding thing, but it's of course overwhelming, because all of a sudden you're embraced by so many different cultures and so many different theater mentalities, theater approaches, and that's what happened here. And we saw a lot of plays from all around the world, from Canada to Japan to South Africa. And I should point out as well that since we are a school, we do have to learn things at those festivals, and therefore we attend workshops. Here are two pictures of workshops. I hope you're overwhelmed by this collage as we were overwhelmed by the festival. So at the top you can see those two pictures from the workshop. Because of the language barrier, those workshops tend to be a bit more focused on the physical things. So we learned the basics of pantomime. We also learned that you don't have to use words to portray a story. You can just portray it by using your body. So that's it. And of course there's critics clubs. The day after your performance, the general public, or even the critics and the judges, if it's a competition, do tend to tell you their thoughts about your play, which is an incredible learning experience, because you learn what comes across great or not so great, what's good or bad, what you can improve. And as far as other plays that we saw there was a wonderful, colorful palette of different plays. So some of them were very classical. For instance, Bangladesh did a Molière play, and then of course we have some that were criticizing society. For instance, Morocco did a play about a woman that was raped and had a child, and because of that, society exiled her. And then of course Italy did a very special play that they turned an innocent Pinocchio play into a very political play that was criticizing Berlusconi. In the end, they were even protesting, and that was very interesting. Of course, I should point out that this is a picture of the Shakespeare's *Midsummer's Night Dream*. That was the play that we showcased there. I should point out that we're usually the youngest at these festivals, because there isn't any festivals at all for high school students. So this was basically an adult festival. Yes, that's it. And the next festival I attended, there's another picture. The next festival was in Minsk, in Belarus. That happened, I think, a month after, and we attended with a different play, with Psyche, Molière Psyche, and that was actually a competition. So we got a little bit of a reality check, because we came from this glamour of Monte Carlo, of Morocco, the land of casinos, to this simple Minsk that had the social reforms, and so the plays even portrayed that in a way. So we also attended many workshops, or one. The workshops, again, kind of tended to focus on the physical. We worked in pairs, we worked with sticks, with other objects, and of course we attended as much critics clubs as possible. Here are some photos from different plays. This is, I think, Macedonia. They had a very, very lovely play that was incredibly physically demanding. They didn't use any words at all. And as I mentioned, this was, again, a competition, and we did get 2 awards. One was here in the middle. One was for Best Actor, and one was for Best Supporting Actress. And then, I know I'm running out of time probably, but very briefly I'm going to... very briefly I'm going to talk about the play. I think it occurs at 2 o'clock. It's Relation After Beckett. And this is our play from the 4th years. And in the many months that we were creating in this creative process of building this beautiful play, and that we had the pleasure to work with our mentor Alexandra, we really experimented a lot with our bodies, with emotions. Really, we tested our limits, and through this process, we deepened ourselves in the story of 3 people. Of a married couple, a man and a wife, and of course the mistress. And we posed a lot of questions, a lot of WH questions, why, where, and so we talked about this love triangle. These characters are in their afterlife and talking about this love triangle they created in their previous life. So we built a lot of different dynamics between those characters, and we also wrote a biography and biology of those characters. So we really did get to know them and really did get to explore the relationships between those characters. And it was an incredibly intense process. It was probably the most intense we ever had, but it's probably the most rewarding as well. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As you can see, they are not only young, they can do a lot of things, they can talk greatly, and we'll see their performance.